Small one-room schoolhouses were the standard for education in southern Bossier Parish. In 1914, the Scannell or Atkins School and Elm Grove schools joined together and a building at Taylortown was constructed. During World War I, the pupils of this school sold more Liberty Bonds than any other school in the state of Louisiana. A large barbecue was held to celebrate, and the state superintendent and many dignitaries attended. In the early 1920s, the Bossier Parish School Board discussed the future of education for the children within the parish. The board decided that its sworn duty was to give every child in Bossier Parish the opportunity to receive a high school education. To accomplish this, a high school at Elm Grove was established and approved. Elm Grove High School had its beginnings in 1921 to serve the children of Ward 1 in the southernmost section of Bossier Parish. In the summer of 1921, the one-room Atkins School with 35 students and the Taylortown School with 10 students were consolidated. 2 acres of land were purchased from A. Capeless at what was the central point in the ward for the school. A 2-story building with 4 rooms plus an auditorium and a small library was built. Mr. Van Oss was the architect. That first year, enrollment reached 80 students under the principalship of L.N. Bush. The school was simply called Ward 1 Junior High School. The 1923-24 session was the first year it was placed on the approved list of accredited senior high schools by the State Department of Education. It was officially called the Elm Grove High School. In 1923, it became necessary to add a new building as the old one had become too crowded. The following year, a principal's cottage was built. It was a modern 5-room bungalow style and had modern amenities like electric lights, natural gas, and waterworks. W.H. and C.B. Hodges graciously donated the land for these buildings. In 1924, the 5 consolidated high schools were featured in the Shreveport Times newspaper, with photos of Bossier City, Plain Dealing, Houghton, Benton, and Elm Grove. Then, in 1925, a 2-story building was constructed by W.E. Swindle and Son of Plain Dealing. The lower floor was used for domestic science, with the kitchen, dining room, and a model living room to teach students how to properly arrange a room. The upper story functioned as a teacher's cottage during the school term. Henry Samuel Jacks served as principal of Elm Grove School. The school was served by 2 parish-owned school vans, making the safe, rapid transfer of students to and from school possible, regardless of weather conditions. In addition to regular schoolwork, the school offered various clubs, like the Social Science Club, the Literary Society and Debating Club, Home Economics, High Y Club, and an adult class in Home Economics. Although it was the smallest enrollment in the parish, Elm Grove stood out among the schools scholastically. Students tied Houghton from first place in the 1932 high school rally. The 4-H Club was judged the best in the parish from 1933 through 1935. The parish championship in basketball was won by the 1924 and 25 teams, under the coaching of L.S. Hayes, and again in 1932, 33, and 34. Having won the title 3 years in a row, the school was entitled to permanently keep the Loving Cup given by the school board. Education in Bossier Parish was racially segregated. There had been 8 one-room schools for the black children in southern Bossier Parish: Simmons Grove, Palmetto, Hunter's Switch, Redmond Spikes, Connolly, Atkins, Bear Point, and Washington. Black students attended school for only a portion of the year and worked in sharecropped cotton fields for the rest of the year. The school board outlined plans to consolidate. One of the options was to convert the current white school at Elm Grove into a school for black students, adding 12 rooms and then building a new 12-room school for white students. That new school would become Curtis Elementary. School bonds were used to finance the building's conversion. The opening of the 1959 school year marked a major milestone for Bossier Parish school consolidation. In 1949, Bossier Parish had 67 small 1- or 2-room schoolhouses scattered across the parish. These rural schools were generally seen as inefficient and archaic. When Redmond Spikes High School opened, the remaining 7 closed their doors. The Bossier Parish School Board voted in 1959 to rename Elm Grove School to Redmond Spikes High School. Reverend Redding Daniel Spikes, also called Redmond, served as pastor for New Zion Baptist Church and Hurricane Bluff Baptist Church. Minnie Payne, who attended the school for a year, called Reverend Spikes a real nice man, a leader. The school opened in the fall of 1959 with an enrollment of 500 students. The old cafeteria was reconditioned to house the agricultural department, and 4 two-room schoolhouses were moved and renovated to serve as elementary school rooms. While it was called a high school, that meant that grades 1 through 12 were housed in the same building. W.C. Patterson was principal of Redmond Spikes for the entirety of its 10-year duration. Patterson was a Marine Corps veteran and received both his bachelor's and master's degrees from Southern University. He began his career as an educator at Bossier Colored High School and then taught at Charlotte Mitchell High School, where he directed the Division of Agriculture. In 1959, the Bossier Parish School Board unanimously voted to name him principal of Redmond Spikes High. Upon school integration, he moved into the assistant principal position at Bossier High School. He started in 1971 at Bossier High, and in 1976 was named supervisor of child welfare and attendance for the parish. Redmond Spikes had a smaller enrollment than some of the other black high schools in the parish. Redmond Spikes had a basketball team both for boys and girls. The New Farmers of America, or NFA, had an active chapter at Redmond Spikes and was formed when the school opened in 1959. The NFA was dedicated to making youths in the area better farmers and more responsible citizens, and functioned as a segregated equivalent of the Future Farmers of America. They had made great strides forward working with limited resources. Annual father-son banquets of the chapter were held at the school cafeteria, with an estimated attendance of 160. NFA chapter members entered 7 calves in a state livestock and poultry show at Southern University in Baton Rouge in 1962. The Redmond Spikes High School delegation had 3 top winners. The facility closed in February of 1970, when the state of Louisiana abolished segregation and reorganized the school systems to include integrated classes. Redmond Spikes High closed for a time for repairs and renovations, and the students were dispersed between Bel Air and Curtis, Parkway, and Sun City, the new high school that was set to open. In September of 1970, the facility was reopened for the 7th and 8th grade students of South Bossier Parish and renamed Elm Grove Junior High. Let's listen to some of the memories of some of the students who attended Redmond Spikes High School.
My name is Mary Wilkerson White, and I graduated from Redmond Spikes in 1966.
My name is Gloria Davis, and I graduated in 1968.
Our class had approximately 18 students during the time we
So
graduated.
that's a small class.
Yes.
And I was in probably about 18 too.
And then, so tell me about the teachers that y'all remember and the classes that you might remember. Any particular teachers that stand out in your memory?
Yeah. Well, I had one that Miss Lacey Walker. I think she
I've
was
met
my
her.
first, I think it was 4th grade. She was my 4th grade teacher. And I was probably a little naughty girl, but she kept me in my place. And I remember her, and I told her one day that she was my hero because I learned a whole lot from her in the 4th grade.
I would say, I guess my favorite teacher was a home economic teacher. Yeah, we were in a separate building. We had to walk to, the building was sitting by itself, so we had to walk to that building. And the reason why I said that, because we learned how to sew. And we sewed the first semester in every grade from the 9th grade to 12th grade. We made different garments. And the second semester we learned how to cook. So that was
Okay.
my favorite teacher.
No, we had
Hot
a
meal
hot meal, full meal,
every day.
vegetables, and they cooked it from scratch.
Yes, indeed.
And so it was very good food,
Yes, we
balanced meal every day.
Yes, we sure did. Raise money,
Yeah,
and
that
somehow
makes
or another we got some money. We wanted to have a pep squad, so we started a pep squad. And we had the pom-poms and the red hats, so when we came to the game, we were on red and white. But,
Okay.
it didn't get off real good, but we did the best that we could do.
Yes, and I was on the pep squad.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Do y'all know much about the namesake for Redmond Spikes? I mean, I know he was a well-loved minister from what I've heard.
Now, that is about all I know, that he was a well-loved minister, and I think he was down near Elm Grove, and that's the reason they named the school after him.
Okay.
And what I know about him, he was, I think he was a pastor of Louisiana Baptist Church. I never heard of him. And the school name is spelled different from his name.
That's what I
Yeah,
heard
it's
too.
spelled different from his name. And then he was the pastor of Hurricane Bluff at one time.
Okay.
I don't know, was that before New Zion or was it before Hurricane Bluff? Because I went to Hurricane Bluff and I said, oh, that's our, our school was named after him on one of the pews at the church there. Yeah,
Okay, New Zion, is that a CME or is that a Baptist?
it was
or-
Baptist.
My time at Redmond Spikes, and I really learned how much I enjoyed it after I grew up. When you're a child, you don't know what you're learning, and you don't know how much you really are learning, because sometimes you learn and don't realize you are learning. So I really enjoyed my time at Redmond Spikes.
Mhm.
And he was we had I think our whole school was at the time, like maybe 500 students from 1st to 12th grade, like 500 students. So you just got to know each other. And when I see the classmates and schoolmates now, I'm just happy. I'm just so happy when I see them.